And welcome to the new live panel, Expo panel. Why is that? Okay, welcome everyone to this very exciting panel. Kind of wrapped up the whole show here. We have some amazing experts on this panel. Let me just go through them. We have the man who's been struck by lightning. How many times? 10 times? At least 10 times. Brought back from the dead, the other side, Danion and Brinkly. Let's give them a big hand. That's of course, New York's very own Stephen Popitek. He's been fighting these evil aliens like Danion about 40 years ago. And of course, Laura Eisenhower. Everybody knows Laura Eisenhower. And then we have Jill Dahne, the world's best psychic. And no, I've heard that. There's a great visionary medium and on Steinfeld, who wrote this book, Making Contact. So today's panel is about really what the future holds, and we've been through some very, very strange times, and they're going to get stranger. So let's hear from the guy who's been to the other side of that. Danion, tell us what's coming up as you see the next 5 years, 10, 20. Let's start long range, short range, and go on.
I think that it's going to be exciting.
That's it?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's going to be exciting. It's all about what creates the future, everybody. What creates the future is the habits that each person individually, collectively has. That's what creates the future. So what habits? Okay, here.
Can we turn on the mic? Yeah, Chip has that down. No, it doesn't go that.
Hello? Okay. Okay, what does the future hold?
Yeah.
The future is determined by the habits individually and collectively that we take on. When I was struck by lightning in 1975, I had an encounter with 12 bees. This is the story of Danion, dead for 28 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, got it from the dead, blah, 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 blah. Always happy, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so in these 13 beings that I encountered in this crystal city, they gave me this information. So when I can walk again, after about 8 or 9 months, and I can write, I wrote down in a nifty notebook these things that I saw that were events different from the place where I was. In 1993, because I got mad, I got angry for the way the world was treating Raymond Moody, I decided to write a book called Saved by the Light, 28 years ago. I decided to write a book about it. And I put the prophecies on the future events in this book because my goal was to prove there was life after death. That was my goal. And the concept of death is an idiotic, insane, moronic thought pattern as a spiritual being to ever think about. It is idiotic. So my goal, when I put these boxes of knowledge in it was that either there was life after death or it wasn't. Either something would come true or it would not. And all the rules they gave me about nothing is carved in stone. Okay? Now here we are, almost 50 years later. Almost 50 years later. At 28 years in a book where I wrote it down. Today you're in box 4 and 5. That's where you are. There's only 12 boxes. Okay, there's only 12. So the future in our habits and our patterns that we're existing, we're watching a world in World War time psychology. What created World War I is in play in your life today. Right now. Okay? Well, it's all in this book.
So what was the prophecies?
The problem is we need to change our pattern. The habits that we have are the same habits we had in 1975. And then what they Fox of the North said was this: if you keep thinking and doing the same way that you're doing, in 30 years from now, you will see war, destruction. I call the environment, the climate change, I call it the environmental religion when I wrote it in 1977, because I couldn't figure out how the World Council of Churches, and it would be one of the patterns that would be used to create a world pattern government that's all being manipulated, quote unquote. I had to look at it from that point of view. When you watch and see how these patterns are unfolding, it's us that has to change. It's we must become aware that we are highly developed spiritual beings, that we have the power to change and shift our consciousness and the world around us. That action we have to take, or we will be in another pandemic and we will be in 3 wars. That's a choice we have to do.
Just give us a practical way to do that.
Okay, first thing practically is breathe.
Everybody agree.
That's the first most practical thing. And if you think you're breathing, then how in the hell did we get in all trouble we're in? And the value of your breath and your life has a certain perspective to it. Like we make the difference, and that we can make the difference. Then we begin to change our harmonic and our nature and our reality. And we force the change instead of let it just keep happening. So I just need to tell each and every one of you I love you. And I want you to show up in my workshop so I can tell you some really fun stuff.
Right.
That's my future is in your hands.
Your future's in their hands. What is our future? All right. We'll get back to you. Okay, Steve, I know you've been battling the forces. How's it look out there on the galactic level?
Yeah, it's like
Go ahead.
it's like a wild west for me right now.
What are you talking that way?
No, but
What's going on?
I mean, literally, with like the group work I do, going every new moon, full moon out, I do group channel guided activations, meditations. So like it's like planetary grid work. But since last spring, every public circle has turned into like a spiritual warrior circle, as well as where we have to work on deconstructing different negative extraterrestrial grids that are being put around the planet or different locations. And because the problem is at the beginning of last year, a lot of our governments made updated treaties with the negative extraterrestrials to give them more permission to manipulate our timelines and history, which is something we don't want to consent to. So we have to be aware of what the past and the present is, so we can't choose a positive future that Danion is talking about as well. So for me, I specialize in identifying what are the vectors of negative influence that have been holding us back, that are trying to reset the matrix in a negative way, where we're trying to transcend that and have the ascension timeline, optimal timeline for a positive, galactic extraterrestrial contacts to be with us. For me, I see that as still like 2029, 2030 as being a more of a window that my guys have me focusing on in terms of positive planetary landings by the good guys. So a lot of Andromeda wants to come in. A lot of Andromedans are coming in to also help us intervene and bring in more divine justice. But we really have to be accountable, as I said, like what are some of the factors that are keeping people in the loops of our old habits? And we find that there are different tactics going on by different negative groups that are trying to loop people into these negative amplified karmic cycles that we've already cleared. So they're trying to trick a lot of light workers into regurgitating the past in an unhealthy way. They're also creating a lot of barriers around us to try to limit our connection to the higher realm so that we're not properly calibrated. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Every 2 weeks I see a different variation of it. So yeah. Oh well, it's more like a 4-dimensional grid that they're putting out from different military bases that they're projecting it out of that underground or in the atmosphere. So like there was one a few weeks ago. I was in the Caribbean for almost a month. I came back beginning of October. I was doing some like Atlantean grid work out there in St. Martin. We discovered a lot of undersea temples in the area, including some of the negative bases that are trying to still hold on to or suppress those Atlantean vortexes from properly opening up. So we're working on putting some of that. When I got back to New York on the beginning of October, literally a day before the thing happened, before the invasion and Hamas in Israel, it was such a terrible grid around New York. I almost got back on the plane the next day, like having a full allergic reaction to stepping off the plane. A few friends messaged me and said, "Oh my God, there's been a harmful energy that's been going on in September in New York." And with respect to 2 different like negative ET groups, there's one that works with the dark Joker clown energy that they like to project like dark funhouse images, and then you play like a negative mirror holographically to try to get people into this movie, like movie mentality, kind of like the Joker movie, you know, or where it's like a negative idea of like a shadow aspect of like anarchy. They really trying to cut the crown chakra. They're a dark group from Orion, basically, who's working with the set group, but they basically were working with Northrop Grumman, who was using technology. They had an enclosure around New York City that looked like a dark funhouse mirror system.
Did that live?
Oh yeah. And then they had a grid underground that was like a certain, they used different geometry, some are square. Well, these are energetic structures where they're using technology from. Yeah, basically they're using technology that they're importing from their negative home world, where they're trying to terraform on an astral level and a hyperdimensional level energies from their negative vortexes, from their planets that they're trying to install here and project it out. It's like,
So what does that mean for the average person in the office?
yeah, exactly. It creates a lot of stress, a lot of tumultuous energy because you're feeling you're being barricaded in. You want to express that, so it reinforces like negative feedback loops or whatever shadow cycle or shadow thought you're in.
But is that changing?
Oh, of course, that's work every 2 weeks. but the problem is that with all the energy going on in the Middle East and also the people that have been vaccinated with a lot of the nanobots in their system, people that I worked on that have been vaccinated. Who have the nanobots, they're all relaying out to the Defense Intelligence Agency, as well as a negative group from Sirius B, who are trying to use that, the magnetic nanoparticles as a kind of mission slip to go into this negative timeline spin field, which we don't want. So that's definitely countered. It's just being aware of the demographics of influence so we can transcend it.
All right. Well, we'll get back.
We'll go back to that.
All right. That's a cosmic weather report right there. Take Steve's mic there. That doesn't work. But Laura, hello, Danny. Pluto is going into Aquarius now for a long time, and that's having a huge influence. And you want to talk about that and what the future looks like, 2024, 25?
Yes, well, I mean, we're in a relationship with everything. And we've had like these false parents, false partners, the inverted system that has convinced us to be a dependency bond, that we need it. We need this outer authority to tell us what to do, what to think. From our higher self, from Creator, from our true Mother Father, that are giving us opportunities to reclaim the fullness of all that we are, because we've been dealing with this reversal grid overlay that has impacted our DNA, because our DNA actually is a replica of the Tree of Life template that is the original planetary grid system. So it's all encoded in our DNA and all the planetary alignments to take us through initiations to switch us back on. But they create psyops out of it by creating a storyline or a narrative that's inverted. So we do the opposite of what the initiation holds. We fear it, like fear death. A huge growth period for humanity in 2019, 2020, the Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn conjunctions. We were thrown the pandemic, like mask up, don't breathe in the breath of life or the ether element. 13th sign is connected to the ether that came in 2010, where we're really able to access miracle vibration, higher self, remembrance of our galactic history, because humans have really been breathing life into their unconscious self to recognize that we're multidimensional. So that's all being played with, so that these barriers are still kept in place, and we just hit our head instead of initiate through things like the dark night of the soul and the activation from the other outer planets like Uranus and Neptune. So Uranus is shocking upheaval that leads to great awakening. But if we are listening to outer authority, we go into panic mode, and the shadow side of Aquarius is anxiety. Your nervous system's all bent out of shape because you're not trusting the things that are falling apart in your life. You look at it as a misfortune. You're not trusting yourself or what the universe is trying to show you. So you stunt your growth. And Neptune, which connects to the creative imagination, is being bombarded with all these frequency distortions. So our dream realm and the astral and everything about our creative imagination is being infected by belief systems. So we're missing all these incredible initiations. So Pluto going into Aquarius, the shadow side of that is that we're looking to technology as a solution instead of growing on a spiritual level and discovering technologies that are in harmony with our DNA and nature, and recognizing that we're the most advanced technology, because the highest octave of Uranus is authenticity and truth. So if we could just move through that initiation and go through the plutonic, pyrrhic, whatever doesn't serve us, we really begin to switch things on because Uranus upgrades us. So they don't really want us to grow in that way. So what I feel is a possibility is any kind of fake alien invasion or any kind of false narrative or false flag, whatever one they decide is going to be to convince us that we need something outside of us to save the day. That might be a part of this dark agenda that's kind of coming in with the problem reaction solution that we have to be very careful of. Because I feel that benevolent beings that are here to help us are an aspect of our higher self and multidimensional self, that is simply here to help to remind us and guide us, but not do it for us. So it's really up to us to ride through these initiations, embrace the uncomfortability of it, and just trust. Everything's encoded in nature. Trust your life path more. All the adversities are opportunities to grow and reach into the treasures that you're made of, and not misunderstand it so that you're always answering to false authority. And look at it like you're breaking up with the worst ex. And it's just time. It's like it's time to get a divorce. I deserve better. We deserve true love because our true relationship with creation is a love story, and it's all included in our DNA. Sacred union, hierogamic union, and just bring on the love because we're here to remember ourselves and not forget ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, Jill, give us some practical predictions if you can.
I will. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, nothing is written in pen, it's written in pencil. Always remember that.
That's why I bring in Rachel.
When you erase though, we can always erase everything and start over. Second of all, back in 1989, I did City TV and I predicted stem cell, and I had no clue what stem cell was. I put stem cell for everything. And they all looked at me like I was on acid, but I wasn't. And that's going to be the future. All these people are going to be gone. You guys in New York, you're not going to have to get another vaccine, so don't worry. Especially when we say what's going to happen in the next 5 years. Well, after the next election, our world will be better. Thank God. Getting Biden out of.
And who are you predicting will anybody?
Well, this is a prediction, everyone.
Okay,
Well,
that's why we're here.
I'm telling you, it's going to be Trump and Democrat is going to be Kennedy.
They're gonna run against each other.
Sorry.
They're gonna run against each other.
He's gonna be running against one another.
And you're not telling us. All right. We'll see how it goes.
This is the prediction, and I just want to say, once the president, whoever it is, please put my prediction aside. Whoever it is, put my prediction aside. The world will get better. And with this war that is going on, it's going to make like if you have a black and blue, it's all dark. And then it starts getting lighter and lighter and lighter. It's gonna change people little by little to start loving one another. Right now, there's so much hate. And it's gonna be about love. And I don't see ever peace in the Middle East. I've never have. I've been predicting that for years. But there'll be peace among the United States and other countries. We'll say it that way. And stem cell will be the new.
So you don't see any end to the war that it's gonna keep going. Okay. Right.
And there was no peace.
Right. So anyway.
Nobody's starting to realize that the religious war is
Everyone has a love.
National religion.
what's the religion comes into play. Old concepts that we held on to that are gone. Yesterday is not coming back to say you said yesterday is not coming back. We have to let it go like some Lord had to go forward. We have to divorce ourselves from the old us. It's not working.
I agree.
Flying carefully though.
What is flying cars? Flying cars, that's a good connection. I could go with that.
that next month, the 21st, you still thought I was on active this. And I don't put drugs in my body. And for anyone, I want to say something, whoever did put that that jab in your body, start drinking green juice. Anything with green, start washing out your body. Whoever did get the vaccine, start getting trees that have spinach in it, that has broccoli in it, that has kale, and start cleaning out your body from them shots. There's not gonna, you do not have to take another one, and my prediction is there's gonna be major loss to get the vaccine.
All right, thank you. Hey, Gail. Give us a really nice vision for the future, if you have one.
Well, I think the thing that's going to be the most exciting and interesting is I think we're actually going to have contact with extraterrestrials in the next couple of years. I actually it's a big human. I feel like in the next the next couple of years, we're actually going to start seeing more and more. The reason I feel this, I feel like there's been an underground, undercover development. It's almost like in the 60s in space age, where they were going to the moon and all these governments were all in the moon. So I feel like the Chinese have already got the technology and they're close to contact. The US has it and Russia has it, and they're in this kind of underground visual, and who wins is going to really be in control. So I feel like the US has been holding back, and they're now going to start feeding and getting the ones that make contact. So I really feel like in the next couple of years, this stuff's going to start dripping out, so we get used to it. And I do feel like there's going to be benevolent, and that's a good thing.
Yes, yes.
I want to say one more thing. For those of you who are worried about the stock market or money, by the end of, not this year, by the end of next year, you're gonna start to see all those stocks that went down, they're gonna go skyrocket. So do not take your money out of the stock market. You're gonna see financials going up. All those Bitcoin, everything. Stocks are gonna go up. I've been predicting stocks my whole life.
Well, just as far as the UFO thing, they are going to have some government hearings with whistleblowers from the intelligence community that are going to reveal a lot of 2024. That has not just been predicted, that's on the slate for that to happen. Anything else, Gail?
So I do agree with Jill on the political front. I remember back when Trump was still running, they said who's going to get in, and I picked Trump. People wanted to vote Liberty, and that was just a prediction. And I did say that it would be 2 terms. So I was kind of surprised when there wasn't a second term. I always thought that was, I thought that it stood by that prediction, and I do think it's going to be between Kennedy and Trump. And this is not a political deciding one way or the other, but I do think that Trump is going to have a second term. I do feel that when the next president comes in, there will be better financial for the country. And I think there will be I think the world that we're seeing right now, it's kind of like Danion said, everybody coming together, very dark energy. I do feel like it's going to get quite a bit worse, and I feel like ultimately there will be some, like Jill said, some level of going to be something positive that comes out of this. And just like Danion said, we're very much in control of our world, but the collective consciousness goes, if they don't change their thinking, we're going to have certain things. Why, if you read somebody, you can read their energy, and you can be pretty accurate for the next 6 months. And then after that, people have changed their thoughts, and this change. So, as Daniel said, 50 years ago, there were certain predictions. They're not set in stone, but if people continue